All right, in this video, we'll finish our discussion of the review for the Chapter 1 test. It's the review of Chapter 2. So this is the second part. It says on number 9, now first of all, we just saw or graphed linear equations by plotting points. And then we also did it by graphing the intercepts. So those are our first two methods. Our third one is where we use the slope, and that's what we're going to do here. So first of all, we're going to want this in slope-intercept form, which is what we use for graphing. And that's why we need to solve this equation for y. Then we'll know the slope and the y-intercept, and we can use those to graph the line. So I'm going to subtract 3x on each side, because I'm trying to get y all by itself. So these add up to 0. I'm left with negative 2y is equal to negative 3x plus 8. We'll divide each side by negative 2, so each of these terms will get divided by negative 2. You could divide this whole thing by negative 2 and then rewrite it like this. I'm just saving a step there. This becomes y equals 3/2 x minus 4. Remember, a negative divided by negative is a positive. So our slope is 3/2. No x, just the 3/2. The slope is always the number in front of x. And the y-intercept is 0, negative 4. So we'll start at our y-intercept, 0, negative 4. Remember, this is rise over run. So from here, we're going to rise 1, 2, 3. Since it's positive, we go up. And the run is positive, so we'll go 2 in the positive x direction. That puts us right here at 2, negative 1. And let's go ahead and draw the line. Now, if you wanted to, you could always go up 1, 2, 3, right 2, and you'd be on the line again. You could do that as many times as you want. Sometimes I'll draw more points just so I can draw a better straight line. Let's go down to numbers 10 through 12. So now that we've covered each of the three types of methods, we're going to let you graph however you want. So on number 10, you're definitely going to want to use the slope and the y-intercept since it's already solved for y and it's in slope-intercept form. So our slope here is negative 1/2, which I'm going to write as negative 1 over 2. And our y-intercept is 0, 3. It's always 0, comma, that number there. In fact, if you let x be 0, y will equal 3. So 0, 3 is here. We're going to go down 1 and right 2. Down 1, right 2. Down 1, right 2. So again, you could find as many points as you want. Now, some of you might say, I really want to use 1 over negative 2. Well, your rise is 1, and you go left 2. Notice it's the same line. It really doesn't matter as long as you're using the slope correctly. You could go either direction. All right, let's go ahead and look at number 11. That's one of what we call the special cases. So x equals negative 3 right here. And in fact, x equals a number as a vertical line. It's this line here. Notice that each of the points on this line is 3 to the left, which means x is negative 3. The y value changes. And so that's the graph of x equals negative 3. Now, I did say that you could always make an xy table and let x be negative 3 times and pick y to be whatever you want. 0, 1, and 2 are nice, easy numbers to work with, so I chose those. And that's these 3 points. So if you find yourself drawing your lines incorrectly, you might want to do that. That might be helpful. Now on number 12, I would solve this for y. So I'm going to subtract 3x on both sides. Now be careful, you're left with minus y. And you'll have negative 3x plus 2. We're going to multiply each side by negative 1. This is a negative 1. Now you could divide -1 by -1 and also get 1, but with -1, whether you multiply or divide by -1, you get the same thing. In fact, multiplying by -1 or dividing by -1, all it does is change the sign. So when I multiply each of these terms by -1, I'm going to have opposite signs. So this minus y becomes a plus y, the minus 3x becomes a 3x, and the plus 2 becomes a minus 2. So all I did was multiply times -1. That looks a little confusing. So times -1, that's all I did. I multiplied each side by -1. Each of the terms change signs. And so we end up with this. So we're going to start at 0, -2, our y-intercept. Our slope is 3 over 1. Remember, you need a rise and a run, so you'll want to write that 3 over 1. 3 over 1 is still 3. So we'll go up 1, 2, 3, and write 1. And there's your line. All right, let's move to our last page. Now again, on these problems you are graphing and you have a choice of how you're going to do it. Now this is actually in the form ax plus by equals c, which we called standard form. And when equations are in this form, usually you want to consider using the intercepts. Notice 2 and 4 are divisors of 8. And so using the x and y intercepts would work great. You could also solve for y and use the slope and the y-intercept. Now on this one, notice that 4 doesn't divide into 9. So I'm thinking here I'm going to solve for y and I'll use the slope and the y-intercept. So here I'm going to make my xy table. I'll let x be 0. So if I plug in 0 for x in this equation, that's 0 plus 4y, which is 4y, equals -8, which means y is -2. So 0, -2 is on the graph. If I let y be 0, I'll find my x-intercept, and we'll have -2x plus 4 times 0 is -8. And we get -2x equals -8. So x is 4. Now I've talked about this in class. If I do this, I don't normally write out the work. If it helps you to do that, then do that. But if I plug 0 in for x, this term zeroes out, and I've got to solve that equation. That's where I got the -2. If I let y be 0, this term zeroes out, and I'm left with -2x equals -8, and that's where we got the 4. So if you can do the arithmetic without doing this, that's fine. But if you're making mistakes, show the work. So 4, 0 is our other point. We'll go ahead and draw that line, and we're done. So on 14, you might want to make sure that you try that one and see if you can solve for y first, and then graph it, and then watch the video. If you haven't already tried, give it a try. All right, so you subtract 4x on both sides. We're trying to get y all by itself. So these add up to 0. We're left with 3y equals -4x plus 9. Now notice these are not like terms. You cannot add these together. We want to put the x term first, and then the y term, and then the constant. Remember, we're wanting to put it in slope-intercept form. This is what we use for graphing. So we'll divide by 3. Get y equals -4x over 3 plus 9 over 3, or y equals -4/3 x plus 3. So I'll put my negative with my numerator. Our y-intercept is 0, 3. So we'll start at our y-intercept, and we'll go down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. and write 1, 2, 3. And then let's go ahead and connect our line, or make our line, draw our line. So there's your graph. Notice it goes through the point 3, negative 1. Last problem. It says use the given information to write an equation for the line in slope-intercept form. Now slope-intercept form is the y equals mx plus b. However, if you have to write an equation, you're going to want to use the point slope form, which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. This is my x1, y1. That's my given point. And this is the slope. So it'll be y minus negative 4. So notice I'm subtracting a negative. Is equal to the slope 1/2 times x minus 6. So this is y plus 4. We want to add the opposite. We're going to distribute here. 1/2 times x is 1/2 x. And 1/2 times a minus 6 is minus 3. You can use your calculator if you want. So fraction button 1/2. Actually, I should get my other calculator. I'm using the wrong one here. So remember, we would, for a fraction, we want to hit alpha y equals. We'll do 1/2. And it's times 6. And notice you get 3. And half of 6 is 3. You could think of it that way. And because it's a positive times a negative, it'll be minus 3. So now we need to solve this for y. We're not quite done. We distributed to get rid of this parenthesis, but we need to get rid of the 4 here to get y by itself. We get y equals 1/2 x minus 7. Now on part B, this time I'm given 2 points. Now I've got to write an equation, so again I need this formula, the y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. The only problem is this is called point slope form. We've got 2 points, so we're okay. We can use either one of these, but we don't have the slope. However, hopefully you remember that you can find the slope if you have 2 points. So it's m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Let's call this the first point, and this the second point. Sorry, my voice is getting worn out tonight after a long day. So y sub 2 is the y value of the second point, so that's 1, minus the y value of the first point, which is 3. And then it's x sub 2, the x value of the second point, negative 2, minus the x value of the first point, which is 4. So we're going to get negative 2 over negative 6, which reduces to 1/3. Remember, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So now I'm going to use the slope of m equals 1/3, and I need to choose one of these points. Well, I already called this one x1, y1, and I like this point because x and y are both positive, so let's just go ahead and use 4, 3. So it'll be y minus the y value here, which is 3, is equal to our slope times x minus the x value, which is 4. So we have, hold on just a sec, a little behind here. Oh, I see what I did. I knew something wasn't right. I've done this a few times. This is a slope of 1/3 is what we had said. I wrote 1/3, but I didn't write it there. Okay, so it's y minus 3. So 1/3 times x is 1/3 x. And 1/3 times 4, this will be minus, because it's a positive times a negative, it's going to be 4/3. 1/3 times 4, you multiply across, you get 4/3. Okay, so we're almost done. We're going to add 3 to both sides. These add up to 0. You're left with y equals 1/3 x. Now, you can get a common denominator. This would be 9/3 minus 4/3. That's going to be 5/3. So hopefully you know how to do that. But again, you got your handy-dandy calculator here to help you as well. So we have negative, let's do alpha y equals. So we were doing negative 4/3 plus 3. And notice you do get 5/3, although it's a little hard to see there. All right. And so that's going to be it for this second part of the review. All right, guys. Good luck on your test. If you have any questions, let me know.